I'm Julia Roberts. I'm the executive director of the Heritage Museum, which most of you came last night and checked out my new exhibits and had a good time. So I have the pleasure today to introduce Anna Blicq. When I started at the Icelandic Heritage Museum in 2017, I took a reputation back studies, and my very first project with the museum was working with Andy and you from Fourth Avenue Productions to produce the story of John. So the film that I'm going to show you today, or Anna will show you around, became that became the newest permanent museum. Growing up in Riverton, John Ramsey's story was the community. So I grew up knowing who he was, and the story, what the tree was, visiting, and like. So I'm really pleased that I was able to be a part of the project to pay tribute to that very important fellow. And it was made in an act of for the spirit of truth and reconciliation. And I think it was recommendation number 8 to that. So it's a great film. When you see me crying, and me cry, then it made me cry more. So you see those tears. So without further ado, and at the end of that work, walking to a brochure, I think that you guys the registration table and certain. So Anna is an award-winning national-based independent television producer, writer, photographer, director, and trainer with more than 40 years of experience. In the recent year, he's worked as a writer, director, story editor, and consultant on many local, national, and international network documentaries and television series. He is currently working as a consultant with the Nunavut Film Corporation and as a story editor on the Weaver Bronco, a non-fiction television series about a survivor of the Humboldt, Saskatchewan bus crash strategy. In recent years, he has served as a writer and senior story editor on the popular television series The Ice Vikings, and served as a story editor on the award-winning CBC documentary Humboldt Season, produced by Winnipeg's Frank Digital and broadcast by the CBC. In 2017, he co-produced, wrote, and directed a film about the life of John Ramsey called A Song for John Ramsey, in collaboration with Juno Award-winning singer-songwriter William Fritz. Content from this documentary has become part of the exhibit that he produced at the New Icelandic Heritage Museum in Gimli. And he co-owns Fourth Avenue Productions Incorporated, a film television production company based in Gimli. Over 3 decades, Andy has delivered dozens of television inserts, half-hour and 1-hour documentary television series. As a CBC employee, I will tell you that secrets. He has worked on the National Journal, Disclosure, Country Canada, Man Alive Convention. He's also wrote and directed histories, television, hit series, Pioneer Quest. Most of us have seen that, and we felt very sorry for the people in this field. Before joining the CBC in 1985, for 7 years, he worked as a feature writer, news reporter, and photographer for the Winnipeg Free Press. His book, co-written with Free Press photographer Ken Leon, People of the Internet, that most of them have that on our bookshop, won the Margaret McWilliams Medals for Popular History. Having been a member of the Gimli Heritage Committee, producing books on the Gimli Manitoba Harbor and Fishery, notable people from Gimli, and the latest project was Gimli, A Year in Pictures, which is available at Ferguson. He worked with TJ Fergala, documenting the life of Gimli over the course of a year. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce and give the podium over to Andy. Please welcome Andy.
Thank you for inviting me to be here to present this film. Something that's close to my heart because Gimli has been a part of mine for a century. And you can't live here without being sort of swept up in the story, the epic story of the landing that happened under 150 years ago, and the journey of your ancestors and people you know over the decades. As Juliana said, this project emerged kind of in tandem with an exhibit. The exhibit at the museum, you may have seen it if you were there last night, that Tammy said to me, you know, we'd really like to improve our content that we have in the museum about our relationship with Indigenous people, Icelandic relationship. And I said to her, you know, I think things have changed a lot. Like in my career as a television maker, we began telling stories about Indigenous people, and then we started helping them tell their own stories. And now it's become very much that they're independently telling their stories without us, and that's as it should be. And you know, as we know, we have a certain premier in this province. The independence and the path to reconciliation is all caught up in that. So anyway, the opportunity came to make a short film about how we put the exhibit together. LNTS funded the project. It was an extraordinary journey to do this, and you know, I heard William Prince. Does everybody know William Prince? That's pretty well. I heard him say, voice is that. So we contacted him, and we felt in the spirit of that, we would ask him to speak for John Ramsey, to give him a voice, because as many of you likely know, there are no pictures. There's no text. He's such a well-known figure, but he doesn't have a voice. So I said to Tammy and then Juliana, let's give him a voice. And that's what this film, art and the exhibit and the film does. So I'm not going to say much more. Let's have a look at it, and then we can discuss it. If you have any questions, I'll go over them with you. This is a film that was made by my partner Hugh Ira, who lives in town here as well, and is also the film commissioner in Nunavut, the Nunavut Film Development Corporation. So we're here, you know, Norma Bailey's. There's quite a large filmmaking contingent in our community. Okay, so let's roll the film, and we can discuss it briefly afterwards.
Yeah, give them more space is good. However you did that last one. Great. Yeah, more background, more part. So from the top again. Okay.
Award winner, singer and songwriter, English First Nation. He's in a women recording studio, hoping to bring history to life.
Jesus.
Will has been challenged to create a song about a man named John Ramsey.
You know my choices. Spring.
He spent weeks writing it. Now, he and his team have just 2 days in the studio to lay the tracks and get it right.
I wake a man up in his dream.
No pictures of Ramsey.
Hold your hands inside.
That has to speak for him and tell his tragic true story.
I hope it's
The story begins here in the 1870s on the wilderness shores of Blicq. In a time of sweeping change, encouraged by the Canadian government, settlers from Iceland were arriving, attracted by the promise of free land and a future for their children.
It's a story that tells us about the bigger picture of colonization, about the human costs of those events, the 1870s and 80s, people's lives.
Hundreds of Icelanders chose to leave their ancient homeland for the New World, driven out by hardship and hunger. In October 1875, more than 200 the shore of Lake Winnipeg and settled on a land reserve granted to them by the Canadian government.
They gave a piece of land that the Anishinaabe people of this believed was theirs. They rented them to this group of immigrants. People ended up living together side by side.
At first, there was conflict between the newcomers and John Ramsey, who was among a band of 60 indigenous people living in a settlement on a place called Sandy Bar, near where the river empties into this prairie ocean. But the Icelanders came to an agreement with Ramsey. They would share it. Later, they wrote that he became a true friend to the colony. Along with other indigenous people, Ramsey taught the settlers how to survive the pitiless prairie winters. A kindness the Icelanders have never forgotten.
He was a very important character in the survival of the Icelandic people when they arrived in Canada. He didn't have to be our friend, but he chose to be our friend and help us.
Today, there are close to 100,000 Canadians who claim Icelandic ancestry. The heart of that community is in Gimli, Manitoba. Here, the culture remains strong, celebrated every year during the Icelandic, the Icelanders' Day. Now, the New Iceland Heritage Museum is reaching back in time to honor John Ramsey with the help of William Prince.
This is a perfect opportunity to celebrate Canada's 150 and to expand on the story of John Ramsey and how important he was to New Icelanders.
With no pictures of John Ramsey and little written record, we are left to look at period photographs and imagine what he might have looked like. The Icelandic settlers described him as tall, a skilled hunter, fisher. He lived in a comfortable lodge or log cabin with his wife Betsy and children. There are no known photographs of Betsy. We must imagine her too. She is said to have been a beauty. The new Icelandic Heritage Museum has asked William Fritz to help us imagine his lifetime. Because for the descendants of the story is still a powerful talisman. In 1876, as summer turned to winter, a great darkness descended on the people. Rivals from Iceland unwittingly brought the smallpox virus into the fledgling colony. The disease spread quickly, disfiguring many, and claiming more than 100 people, most of them children.
Some families lost more.
The contagion continued its deadly march, claiming up to 200 lives in the Aboriginal communities, including Sandy Bar, where the Ramsey family.
He lost not only his wife, 3 children, but also his father-in-law, actually many other close relatives, neighbors. His left pieces with his one survivor. What? Very comfortable, creative,
I think that, I think that when you was telling the story of John Ramsey and his, personal loss that he suffered from these people that arrived on the beaches, and still to turn around and be their friends with him. It makes me just feel very sad for him. His friendship allowed him to survive here in New Iceland, even at the sacrifice of his own family.
The rich faces of all survivors are no longer seen. The disease eradicated by vaccination. There are no footprints of Ramsey's daughter, Mary, but the settlers recorded that she was horribly disfigured. Will says he found his song when he focused on John Ramsey's grief, strength.
In the Aboriginal culture, represents strength. Her name is Ruth Elaine Christie. Is one, and I'm related to John Ramsey through my grandmother.
The John Ramsey story converges here. The historic St. Peter Diner Anglican Church,
on the Red River north of Selkirk, Manitoba, and the original home of Chief Peguis and his people. Some whose ancestors left here. In the years after Ramsey died, Ramsey lived here for a time until treaty. And it was to the stone fort near here that Ramsey journeyed following the epidemic.
You know, he walked to Lord Gary. It had somebody, but that's it. I'm 30 he chose her burial site. She loved the sound of the waves on the shore and the bees flying overhead.
Today, Betsy's gravestone stands in a farmer's field near Riverton, Manitoba. Her children rest with her.
Just to think of how the person was. They did say that you'd see that he was there and he spent hours at Betsy's grave. Was he talking to her, you know, was he listening that she would say something to him?
Second, stone carves it. This spell is he named.
Cell phones actually comes up with your computer, so you have no choice but to take it in, you know? It's really quite. It's almost like he knew that this would one day be a beautiful spot. I'd like people to understand that, you know, in this giant field in the middle of nowhere lays man's whole world. John Ramsey, by putting this headstone here, was trying to extend his wife's mortality age. Keep her alive in some.
I would be so angry, you know, I had a hard time to give and turn around and start. What I think that John Ramsey could do that. I wanted to try. You know, that's strength. I find that in my trust, I become stronger.
Grief and suffering became John Ramsey's constant companions. He remarried, but his second wife and young daughter died too. He remained a loyal friend to the Icelandic settlers. When another family lost a child, the infants were buried together on the banks of the Icelandic River. Ramsey married a third time. Christine is a descendant of that union. The records show John Ramsey's life ended after he contracted tuberculosis.
When he passed by April 1990, he asked his friends to break the body one person.
The story doesn't end here. As the years passed, Betsy's grave fell into disrepair. Until, in this house, a man named Trusty Vickers dreamed of a visitor.
Yeah. Good looking man. Walking across the meadows. Wanted to see. So first went out to see this person, John Ramsey. And it's upstairs where the bedrooms were. Just by the stream. Very beautiful. And even when I tell you, it seems to me that dream and reality. Dream.
Royce was a skilled carpenter. In the dream, Ramsey asked him to rebuild the fence around Betsy's grave. But the thing says,
I told John Ramsey he couldn't do it, and that John Ramsey should. to spot. Ramsey tied and from the waist to images only given.
First they went to Betsy's grave. It had been a poor year for fishing. On his way home, Trusty met a fisherman whose nets were suddenly full.
Betty was pleased that he was able to open his bag, fill the fish, and he felt quite certain that this was to give the facts of the owner. His promise kept the job.
Many years ago, Ruth heard the story firsthand from Twisty's daughter, who has since passed.
She hadn't met him yet. Just said, you look like John. It would have paid me a better compliment. I believe that yes, did appear to her father. And that he was affected to that message that he received.
For more than a century, the John Ramsey story has been told, retold. His kindness in the face of terrible loss, his love for Betsy, never forgotten. The Simpson family owns this land and keeps faith with the past.
We were always taught that John Ramsey was very important. Usually he made that long trip to get a tombstone for it, like the grave is remembered. And that's what people have always known about it. And it sticks out.
It's important to me because it's on our land and it's history. So it's my job to keep that going, right? And have it nice for other people who want to learn that don't know about it. So it's really important.
I'm grateful to the Icelandic. I go there. I take my children. I like going there in the autumn. And I know the geese are going to be migrating south. I stand there and I can picture you, Betsy and John, sitting there getting ready for the winter.
The Icelanders, this story is completely on the presence of indigenous people, but to also stress the relationship between themselves and the indigenous people, which I think is important for it's
Out of 60 members of the Sandy Bar family, just 23 survived the smallpox. The settlement was action. Ramsey asked the government for compensation for lost land and property. It is unclear whether he ever received it, but he remained loyal to the Iceland.
It must have been difficult. But I think that's part of the culture of the Aboriginal people, you know. You love to skills and knowledge, you share that. I think John Ramsey demonstrated that.
one thing that I'm thinking about is that he, in his action, treaty relationship, he saw that he was part of the treaty with this treaty. His responsibility to be a good treaty partner. He wanted to live.
That's why it's a good role. Other people. Thanks.
John Ramsey.
Today, John Ramsey's story endures. His strength, his compassion remembered, passed on daily pieces to visitors from Iceland who come to see the fabled Blicq, the harbor and district multicultural heritage village. And the Ramsey story is being returned to his own people. Visiting people is now the biggest visitation.
And Dr. Ramsey, the dream knew that he came to him and he's like, hey, can you build a fence around my wife's grave to protect her more? So he agreed to do that in his dream.
It's both work for me and for my students to understand their history. And I believe that none of us are lost. We know who we are and where we came from. It's gonna bring gratitude to us, into the lives. And it's just, I don't know, it just means a lot to me that they just give themselves. Ramsey, everybody who played.
Never forget the image of walking up to this place and seeing it. Just being in this particular area, John Ramsey, and people probably walk around. It's just- Yeah, and there's legacy, they call it everywhere. So I want people to take that home as well. The legacy we carry forward here.
Yeah. Making it's always like see it. It's things that go on behind the scenes, and this was a very low budget project. Do some of the shooting work, and we were really scrambling for visuals, so it just wasn't a lot of work with it. Well, one night, I went out to the Fanny Bar by myself, and that store rolled in there. I have to tell you, it was a pretty emotional moment to be there and to have that. Something I'll never forget. I always feel like John Ramsey said this really mean it. To the end too, for really it's being a vulnerable moment to really express something. You get that sense in the community how important a figure Ramsey is. I take some for it. So right in the middle of production, John Williams took the middle and we were kind of with him on to do this. But he stuck with it. We're grateful that he did that. Now, no, he's moved on. I think he played a Ryan recently in Nashville and he's touring in Europe. Quite a career. What we're left with in the Ramsey story is kind of a mixture of myth and fact. And so you can kind of shape that story, and it's happened, and there's debate about the events and facts around his life. But I think what remains is what's really important to your community, to the Icelandic community and us and the all, and the act of putting the exhibit together, is that we all have to each find our path towards reconciliation of Indigenous people. And I think that this was a step in the right direction to do this, to reach back and to acknowledge him and to tell the stories now on the record and will be forever. I don't see too much more. So if anybody has any comments or questions about it, I'd like to move forward. Yes.
Well, it's hard to put together words, in that everyone that worked on it and the movie we just saw. But I just want to make everyone aware that Gimli renamed the North Colonization Road in Arnis that traverses along Treaty 1 and Treaty 2 territory toward what, thank you. That really ends Nancy's grave. Gimli renamed that road from North Colonization to Ramsey Road.
It's not telling a story like this, it's an imperfect process, particularly when the facts are so hard to get an answer. So you have to work. That's what we've done. And I know Ryan Beaver will be here later in your session. He's in the normal resort, the story, and the events that surrounded the arrival of the Icelanders and their interaction with indigenous people. I don't know. Juliana has copies of this book at the museum, and that this is a fantastic book. It's a really an unvarnished account of what happened in the Canadian government's role, the explicit role in reasons in terms of their ambition in Western Canada in bringing the Icelanders here. Bringing them here. It's really worth reading. It really helped me better understand what transpired in 1875 and the years that followed. So if you have time, you want to get a copy, it's a great book. So I don't know. Sorry, it's called White Settlers Reserve. And it's an academic book, so it's not a hard read. And if you have further questions about this period, I'm not sure what the contents of the speech will be, But he'll definitely, you can ask him directly, and he's really the expert, in my view, the expert on this. Yeah, you know, how colonization played out here. I just want to leave you with one more thing. I think in my life, having been around here for 50 years, I don't think there's anything more profound than to think about that day in October, one that's going to be remembered so often and so well this year, the landing and what that first winter would have been like is an epic story. It's an incredible story of courage and survival in the face of hardship. And that's something that I'm not an Icelandic descent, but I think that is something that you can all be incredibly proud of. That journey and that story. Yes?
Wondering if this video will be available online.
You know, we haven't put it up online yet. I'd like to get it up online. I need to check about rights. You know, this gets complicated. I don't think William would have checked last time I saw him. Give me a big hug, so I think it'll be okay. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to say that the University of Manitoba, we do have rights for it. So we're more than happy, we have rights for screening it, so for another year and a half, so we absolutely let you know when they're ready to pay.
And Juliet hasn't had museum copies of it. We're selling the rights issue. I think I'm trying to clear that up. I think the time that we were waiting, it's been 7 or 8 years now. I think we'll try to make sure this is more widely available. But if you want to see it, if you want to bring family and friends to see it, we screen, right? Yeah, at the museum there, so. Anyway, sure, I think I know we're short on time, so I'm going to make way for the next speaker. Thank you very much.